Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the new 40k, most recent article from Warhammer community. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. So if you haven't heard yet, maybe you've been living under a bridge, Warhammer 40,000, what does the new game mean for your codexes? So Games Workshop, the largest tabletop gaming company on planet Earth, somehow managed to turn what is one of the most requested changes, one of what I would argue is the most positive changes they could have possibly made, into a bad publicity event. So let's take a look at the article, but essentially what it comes down to is Games Workshop is at least temporarily removing codexes, and they're going to release all of the rules for free. And then instead of having codexes with a bunch of rules in them and needing them and all that good stuff, you can get all your information for free. You can play with all the models that you already paid for free. And then if you want to buy the codexes, sure, they'll still have the same old rules that are already free, but also you can get the cool background and lore and all that stuff. So literally what people have been asking for probably like 10 years. Digital versions of codexes, free rules, and digital upgrades. So this is something that is probably the #1 requested from the game, and a lot of other games are already doing the same thing. We see companies like One Page Rules, where they're releasing all the rules on one page. We now see Games Workshop trying to focus in and doing like the 2-page spread, all the stratagems, all the rules, everything on those pages. All positive changes. But somehow they managed to spin this article in a bad way, and it just blows my mind how completely out of touch they are with their customers, with their game players. It just is absolutely insane. So let's take a look. Like an orbital drop pod searing its way through the flak-filled lower atmosphere, the next edition of Warhammer 40,000 is coming in hot. It's still the same great game of epic battles in the grim darkness of the far future, but we're shaking things up a little. No, scratch that, a lot. Warhammer 40,000 has more than a dozen factions and many more sub-factions, all of which make a rich and deep strategic game. It's fair to say, however, the most recent edition had become unwieldy. The learning curve is steep, and you're often forced to spend too much time flicking through several books looking for the right special rule or stratagem. The new edition is designed to address all these points and more, to remove every rule or interaction in which the complexity had become unhelpful. So far, so good. Sounds perfect. The design studio has taken a long, hard look at the state of the game. The core rules that underpin Warhammer 40,000 are strong, but in their review, they found many opportunities for streamlining the system, fixing rules that didn't quite sit right, and numerous other quality of life changes. Again, sounds great. Those sticky complexities have now been smoothed out, and without losing any of the game's depth, these much-needed simplifications are substantial enough that from a rules perspective at least, every 9th edition codex has been rendered obsolete. That is by far the worst line that you could ever put in anything when talking about a product that your company sells. Like, I get what they're saying, and I understand like the spin they're kind of trying to take on it, but that immediately gives everyone that has ever purchased a codex, many people have purchased many codexes in 9th edition, that like sinking stomach feeling that I just threw away my money. Now, I can't speak for everyone, but honestly, that is so horribly written that whoever did this should really think about their job. I can't imagine that anyone ever went through and actually proofread this and thought that this was a good idea to put in an article. Hey, you know all that money you spent, that $55 per codex that you just bought? Sure, yeah, you bought 3 of them or 5 of them or 10 of them. Well, they're all trash now, so just throw them away. They're obsolete. That blows my mind. So let's keep on going here. That's not to say they're useless. They're still bursting with lore, history, and short stories which define each faction, and until new codexes emerge over the course of a new edition, these books will still be in the main repository of the knowledge you need. So they kind of like walk it back a little bit and say, well, they're not completely useless. There's still some lore and history and short stories in them. So, you didn't completely waste your money. Only if you like care about playing the game and stuff was it a waste of money. So it just is crazy to me because there are so many different ways that they could have spun this in a positive way. And instead, somehow they have fully embraced the negativity and like the bad feeling that you get after you buy something and something brand new came out. So like for instance, I bought the Adeptus Sororitas Codex last edition, and then right afterwards, I hadn't even taken it out of the plastic yet. We went to the new edition, and immediately there was a new Adeptus Sororitas Codex. So I felt like I had got robbed. Now, I like the books. I like reading them. I like the art inside and everything. But the real reason I bought the Codex was for the rules. And for a long time, people have been requesting that they could get free access to the rules, or they have been using alternative websites like Wahapedia to find all of the rules in a simple place, all condensed together and all free. People have also been asking for an app that functions well, has everything up to date and all that stuff. And Games Workshop has promised digital updates, a new functioning app, all that stuff. And I honestly, as someone that's very critical of Games Workshop when they do something bad, have really praised them for a lot of the changes that they're making in 10th edition, a lot of the improvements they've already talked about, and essentially them listening to their customers, listening to their players, and making the changes that the players ask for. So this is probably the #1 most requested change that people ask for. Hey, don't make me buy the codexes anymore. And somehow this article makes you feel bad about it. And the truth is, there's people like me that are always going to buy the codexes. I enjoy the physical books. I like to flip through them. I like to read them. I like to look at the pictures. I enjoy it. I'm from a different time. I don't enjoy the digital age. I spend far too much time with computers and electronics all around. So it's nice to just have a physical book I can pick up, I can read, look through, enjoy. Now, when it comes to actually playing the game, though, of course, you want all the rules condensed in one place. You don't want to have to be looking for the correct page, flipping through left and right, trying to figure out where that stratagem is, etc., etc. So overall, great changes. By far, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, the best change they could have possibly made to the game is to give away the rules for free. Really, what are Games Workshop? They're a models company. They say it over and over again. We make the best models. The game is a bonus. The models are what it's really all about. Somewhere along the way, Games Workshop figured out they could make a bunch of money selling books and rules and all that stuff too. But the truth is, they're all about making the best models. It's even in their mission statement. So that being said, the best thing you can do is get people to play your game, get other people to play your game, grow the hobby, grow everything. So by giving away the rules for free when you've already purchased the models, you get rid of that extra kind of feel bad step where people have to buy the book. And then once they start playing, they enjoy themselves, and then they say, you know what, it would be cool to read and find out about this special character or see the background for my faction, etc. And then they can buy the book if they want to. Or some people just buy the book right off the bat, fully knowing that they don't need to, and that's completely fine as well. I love it. I think it's great. It just really blows my mind because there's just no way that a normal company with a responsible marketing department would ever let an article worded like this go out into the public. Every 9th edition codex has been rendered obsolete. Everything about that is just feel bad. And just follow it up with, that's not to say they're useless. They're still bursting with lore, which is not the reason you bought them, history, which is not the reason you bought them, and of course, short stories that define each faction, which of course you didn't buy them for that. So it just really blows my mind that this is the route that Games Workshop takes. Instead of putting an awesome spin on this and getting everyone completely hyped for this, they give us one final feel bad moment for 9th edition. I don't understand how the largest tabletop gaming company on planet Earth has the worst marketing department in existence. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now back to the video. Alright, so let's keep rolling here. So the associated packs of data cards are also obsolete. One of the main vectors for streamlining armies has been heavily reduced the number of stratagems available to each faction. Gone are the days of shuffling through 50 cards to find the right ability. Each army now has a lean list of them included on a double-page spreadsheet that defines them. Again, I like the idea of the consolidation. I like what they're getting at here. They're just doing a really, really bad job getting it across. You will nevertheless be able to play your chosen army as soon as the new edition lands. Very cool. We are releasing revamped, restatted, and reconsidered datasheets for every single unit in the game. Very cool. All free to download at launch and ready to go. That's great. So you download all your free datasheets, all your free rules, and all of it right at launch. So you don't have to worry about if your codex is going to be the last one and you don't get it for years. You have to just wait patiently for all your new cool stuff. Everybody gets it right away. That's awesome. You'll also be able to buy inexpensive packs of these cards at launch. So they're saying essentially they're going to release inexpensive packs of the data cards right off the bat for everybody. That's awesome. Again, very, very cool. And then they wrap up with a little bit about boarding actions, which is sort of like the opposite spin now. So it's like good news, but presented in a bad way. And then it's like feel bad moment. And then it's like, but there's, light at the end of the tunnel. And then here we go to boarding actions. And if you're not familiar with boarding actions and sort of what's going on here, Games Workshop spun off the boarding actions, the kind of like narrative play into like your 40k indoor setting. Because last edition, towards the end, they did something like Psychic Awakening, it was called. And they did essentially the same thing. They released a bunch of rules in these books that came out one after the other with like cool narrative and stuff like that in it. But it had actual rules, special ways to play your army, additional like sub-factions, etc. But it was still part of the main 40k game. So if you didn't buy those books, you kind of got left out. So in this case, it was the opposite. Games Workshop spun off the Arcs of Omen stuff into like the boarding action, boarding patrol setting and had like cool stories and stuff in there still, but it was not part of like the actual 40k game. So people didn't get the feel bads in the same way of buying all these cool new books and all these new rules and everything when you full on know that the edition is about to end. So everybody that's been in the game for a long time now saw this coming, talked about it, and said, hey, this is probably the end of the edition. They're just going to pump out a bunch of these books. So a lot of people skipped those books thinking that they were going to get done dirty again and immediately regret purchasing all those books and then them being invalidated with the new edition. And here comes Games Workshop with the old surprise. Boarding actions, on the other hand, are still going strong. The core rules in Arcs of Omen Abaddon were specifically written to work with the new edition, and the book will remain available for the foreseeable future. So the book will remain available for the foreseeable future. That is important and was never disclosed to us before. All you need to play this tight and tense format of Warhammer 40,000 is in this book, the book that contains your own faction rules and set of terrain. And then, of course, there's a couple other Arcs of Omen books as well that have come out with some special like faction rules in them also. But I just thought it was funny that Games Workshop never told this in advance. Now they have released the first like 4 of these books basically. And now they're saying, oh, by the way, Arcs of Omen's not going anywhere. So if you're afraid to buy all these books and drop a few $100 only to just find out that they were completely useless for rules wise, and then just throw them in the trash. Actually, now that they're all sold out and you can't get them anymore, they're not going anywhere. We've built them to continue existing with the new rule set in 10th edition. So again, it's like another feel bad moment because it's not even like people can go out and buy the books that they missed out on now. They're sold out and selling at ridiculous premiums. Not even just like the special edition ones, even just the regular ones are selling at like $100+ for some of them. So Games Workshop has really just dropped the ball on all this. They've done a poor job communicating in advance that Arcs of Omen was going to stick around. They did a poor job communicating in advance all this kind of wrap-up Psychic Awakening similarities at the end of 8th edition are similar to 9th edition, but this time they're not going to invalidate all of those books, all the Arcs of Omen books, but instead all of the codexes are just complete trash. Go ahead and just throw them away. And sorry about the feel bad moment if you just bought the Votan or you just bought the Guard or you just bought the World Eaters. And especially if you just bought the data cards, because those are complete trash, but we'll sell you some new ones as soon as the new edition's out. I just think that this article and the approach that Games Workshop took is just the absolutely worst way that you could market this setup. In my opinion, this should be a grand slam for Games Workshop. You're giving away all of the rules for free for the game. You're giving away all of the Codex or army-wide rules for free for the game. You're condensing it down into 2 pages of rules. You're getting rid of all the unnecessary purchases like codexes and supplements and data cards. And then you're going to allow people to buy what they want and still be able to play the game. All of that is good. All of that is amazing. All of that is exactly what players, collectors, fans want. And yet somehow this article has made so many feel bad moments and just spun it in a completely opposite direction. And it's not just me either, because I wasn't even going to talk about this article. It actually came out yesterday and it was like pretty basic. But when I read through it, I just thought, man, they could have spun this a lot better. And when I say spin, I just mean like pitched it in a way that's positive instead of negative. Written it in a way that makes you feel good and leave happy as opposed to bad. Because I'm in a couple of like random groups and all I saw was basically that same one line over and over again. Everybody was just basically sharing this little 2 lines right here. These much needed simplifications are substantial enough that from a rules perspective at least, every 9th edition codex has been rendered obsolete. That's not to say they're useless, they're still bursting with lore, history, and short stories that define each faction. And until new codexes emerge over the course of the new edition, these books will still be the main repository of the knowledge you need. So this was just all over the internet, and it was just one comment after another about how Games Workshop basically screwed people and they just bought these books and now they're going to be useless and how terrible all this was. And all I can think the whole time is, like, I don't mind the books. I don't really use too many of the digital resources, but when I do, they're nice to have. But that's what everybody should have been like super hype and super excited and talking about it. It's not the community's fault for looking at this in a negative way. It's Games Workshop's fault for pitching it in a negative way that basically begets more negativity. So let me know what you think down below. If you didn't read this article, if you didn't hear the way Games Workshop put this out there, is this a positive change? I think it's amazing. Giving away all the rules for free for warcry was amazing. For sigmar was amazing. I mean, this is just absolutely phenomenal. Everybody was super hyped about those things. And then for some reason, they're doing it in 40k, which is their biggest game, which everybody most requests. You're no longer going to need to buy codexes. You're no longer going to need to buy rule books. None of that stuff. You know, at best, maybe what, a grand tournament mission pack? That's great news. Digital resources? That's great news. An app that works? Awesome. And somehow, Games Workshop, the biggest tabletop gaming company on planet Earth, has the worst marketing department ever and put this out in a negative way. I know what you're thinking. Is this just more proof that Games Workshop is in fact run by hamsters? And the answer is yes. Yes. I mean, I can't say for sure that Games Workshop HQ is run by hamsters, but this is just one more piece of proof that we're putting in the notebook. I think we can at least take the leap and say that Warhammer community is run by hamsters. So yeah, that's it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Should this be a positive thing? Did you read it and immediately get like that pit in your stomach, like sinking feeling? Or did you read it and just get through all like the Warhammer community, like horrible way of wording and spinning things and just say, oh, this is actually really good. This is exactly what we wanted. Thank you, Games Workshop. Because for me, I looked past the way it was written and saw this as a really good thing. The internet tends to just dwell on really good things or really bad things. But from what I saw, overall, this was received very, very poorly. And honestly, the community did not like the way Games Workshop worded it, even if they liked the net effect of it. So that's it for today. Looking forward to hearing back from you guys and your opinion on this. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check them out to save 15%. Link in the description. And that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and I am super excited about this. I think it's great. But I'm still going to buy the codexes. And I'm out of here.